Hi, it's Kim here from the TSS. In this video, we're going to look at some of the more advanced analysis tools, namely the track markers, the run stats, and the time slip pop-up. So let's get started. I'm going to press simulate. So in this race, neither left or right lane is breaking out. So let's hit simulate. I'll make sure my track markers are turned on and I'm actually in the look down view at the moment, or the camera mode, look down. Let's play the race. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Let's play the race until we get a bit further down the track, and then we'll have a look at the track markers themselves, and I reckon that'll do. So let's just refresh our memory about what each of these is telling us. So the yellow line is the position of the front wheels in the left lane. The light blue line is the position of the front wheels in the right lane. The pink lines are the dial-ins, and both of the vehicles are behind their dial-ins, so they're not breaking out. The blue line represents the perfect package, so for example 000 on the tree and dead on. We have the current time and distance, and then down the side of the track here we have the measurement in feet. The last but not least is the win window, which is this green box. Now this indicates where, at this point on the track, where the vehicle in the right lane needs to position their front wheels to win this race. This is pretty simple, this example, because we've got two vehicles that are not breaking out. And in this instance, the right lane is winning because they are in front of the wheels of their opponent, but behind their dial-in. Now, let's look at a couple of the other analysis tools. So what I might do is I'll turn the stats. So this is the run stats. These are live stats as the replay is happening. So what have we got here? We've got the current ET of each of the vehicles, the distance they've from the start line, so 604 feet compared to 615 feet. The distance left to the finish line. Then we have the mile an hour instant, so this is not an average, this is like an average over a thousandth of a second. The feet per second they're traveling at, the g-forces. What's really interesting here is the closure rate. So we've got a closure rate of 15.45 mile an hour, which is really, it's good to know when you're trying to work out where you're comfortable with as far as a closure rate is, and and driving the finish line. Are you comfortable with a 10 mile an hour difference, 15, 20? It very much depends on the individual, because that might influence your decision about how you drive the finish line, depending on what that closure rate is. We've got the closure rate in feet per second. What we have here, the next stats are the gap between the two vehicles, so between the front wheels of both vehicles. So in this instance, it's currently 10, just almost 11 feet. And then we have the time, so just over 500ths between the two vehicles at this point in the track. Down below, in this next section, is some really key features. This first one, dial in feet, is how far away the vehicles are from their dial-in, so in distance. So currently in the left lane 3.84 and the right lane 1.82. So that's that distance there, and that's the distance there. What is that worth in time as well? So how far away are you in time from your dial-in? And then we have the win window. Because the right lane is currently in the winning position, at this point in the track, there's no way the left lane can win. At this point in time, let me make that clear. What it's showing us is that the win window for the right lane is 12.69 feet long, if you like, and just over 600ths in time. And then there's 0 readings in the left lane. So I'm going to hit resume and just let it play out to the end, and you'll see these stats automatically update. Right, so now we get to the finish. Okay, so at the end of the run, the gap between the two vehicles was just 5.42 feet, or 0.025 seconds. And once again, we can see the distance from the dial in and also the size of the wind window. Let's move across over to turn the time slip on. Over here we have the basic time slip information, the reaction time here. So there's a 1500ths difference in the reaction time. Who got to the line first? Well, we know that's the right lane. How much under or over their dial-in were they? So dial-in was a 539 and they ran a 540, so 100th over. So the total package, is the reaction time plus the time over the dial-in gives you the package. The margin of victory in time is the difference between the two packages, and that is 0.025 seconds. What you also get with the time slip simulator that you can't get off your actual time slip is the distance. So the distance here is just over, almost 5.4 feet, for example. And that is shown here. So the same figure here is the same figure here. And so the gap between the two vehicles is shown here as well. So they cross the line 0.025 seconds in front of the left lane, and that equates to 5.42 feet. I'm going to show this in a future video, but this distance, so let's say we often talk about taking 100th, for example. Taking 100th in time is a set amount. However, the distance changes depending on how fast your opponent is. So the quicker your opponent is, 100th is more in distance. And the slower your opponent is, that 100th that you take is actually the distance is smaller. So you have to tighten it up more than you do for somebody who compared to a quicker opponent. We will go into that in future videos where we're going to dissect and analyze individual time slips. But I just wanted to show you how these all relate. So you've got your track markers, your win window, your live stats that are telling you things like how far you are from your dial-in, how big your win window is. You can then reverse engineer how much stripe you could have taken, how much and how little. So we can work on that, and I'll show you how to do that later. And also this really important stat here, which is the margin of victory distance, which I said you won't get that on your time slip. The only place you're going to get that is the TSS, and which is one of the key features. So let's look at a different scenario. So in that instance, neither vehicle was breaking out. So let's move on to one where both vehicles are breaking out. So let's go. So I'm going to play it. And we'll get down to close to the finish line. So what's happening here is we can see both vehicles can potentially win. So at the moment, the right lane is breaking out by more than the left lane, right? So in order to win this race, they've got to back into the win window here. So see where the dial-in is there and to the blue line. So that distance there is then added to the front of their dial-in to give an indication of the distance. And then this distance here is added there to give the distance. So that's what these windows are representing, is that left lane is currently winning because they're in their win window. However, there is an opportunity for the right lane to win if they back into this win window here. So I'll just resume. And unfortunately, the right lane's got to the finish line first, but has taken way too much stripe. They needed to back in to this win window here to turn on the win light. We'll look at one more example where one lane is breaking out and the other isn't. So brake behind, no brake front. So this vehicle is the quicker of the two and is braking out, while this one is the slower of the two and isn't braking out. And if we hit play, we'll just play it a little bit. So at the moment, I'll just pause it here. The left lane is not in a winning position. They're behind and they're braking out at the same time. Whereas in the right lane here is not braking out and is going to has a win window, theoretically, because they're not breaking out, this win window could extend all the way back to the finish line. But I just add a certain amount of distance onto the end for review purposes. So if we hit play here, so there was actually an opportunity for the left lane to win this race. Unfortunately, once again, they've taken too much stripe. If they'd backed into or had dropped behind their dial-in and not broken out, there was still room. So there was still room for them to cross in front of their opponent and stay behind their dial-in and take the win. So we're going to dive into into analysing individual time slips in the near future, but I just wanted to show you the relationship between the track markers, the run stats, and also the time slip, which is showing you like total package, margin of victory in time, but also the margin of victory in distance. And this figure here will always be the same as the gap that comes over here. So all of these advanced tools are used to analyze your time slips and then determine what you could have done differently, potentially, to win a particular round of racing, or potentially what you could have done to tighten it up more so than you did. So we'll address each of those scenarios in a future video.